Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. Holy crap, I cannot believe we are actually talking about a Cubs victory tonight. I'm Ron Luce, joined tonight by Cody Mendo. Sir, holy smokes, dude, how you feeling?
Dude, I'm just, I was preparing to come on here and yell about not even the Cubs, but just Cubs fans and Cubs Twitter and just, a lot of really stupid takes. I was going to call out I had a list of like 20 people that I was going to just call out on Twitter on this show tonight because like I listen to every post game we do back, even if I'm not in it. And it seems like we just talk about all the same shit every single day this entire month of July because of everything. And I just wanted to change it up a little bit and, try to have some fun and make fun of a lot of really stupid takes. But the Cubs kind of ruined that, and I'm okay with it because we got a W tonight, man. And I needed it, man. I mean, last week when I was in Iowa, it was hard to really follow the Cubs in terms of just like every pitch and stuff like that. I follow on the At Bat app, and obviously with the All-Star break, I think I only missed a couple games, but then last night's game, I saw half of it, but not the full thing. But most of Cubs Twitter was, just they were treating it like it was the worst loss of the year. And again, there's been a lot of bad losses. They all just kind of mixed together to me. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, just like I said, it's just because of everything that has to do with what was going on this month with the rumors, the trade rumors. I mean, Chris Bryant comes out of the game tonight. Everyone thinks that he's on his way out when honestly, just, the Cubs just want to make sure he doesn't get hurt because they're probably going to trade him. And, the Cubs kind of spoiled all of the bitching. They spoiled the bitching. It was nice. Like, again, I mean, spin zone, Milwaukee lost today. Picked a game up on them, man. Are we back?
Hey-o.
Are we back,
never
man?
know.
Another spin zone, the Cardinals. I tweeted this earlier. I mean, and I've tweeted this multiple times. Like, that team entered the season with expectations. That team was supposed to be good. Yep. Like Boob Nightingale, freaking tweeted after the freaking after the Arenado trade that like they were going to be the front runners of the NL Central.
Yeah.
Like, and that team literally shit their pants in the ninth inning, leads the National League in walk rate, their bullpen. Mm-hmm. Alex Reyes shit his pants. Like, garbage. And Giovanni Gallegos, honestly, it wasn't completely his fault, but I think he was the one who gave up the hit to Happ. I can't remember if it was Reyes or Gallegos, but either way, man, like that bullpen, you didn't see it coming, man. You absolutely didn't see it coming the way that game went. And I think it just goes back to show you that baseball is never over until the 27th out is made. And it's just again, I'll preach this forever. The Cubs could suck. They could be tanking next year, but I will always cheer for 18 W's a year against the St. Louis Cardinals. It does not fucking matter if the Cubs are good or not. It means that much to me that we just beat that godforsaken city into the ground because I fucking hate that team and I hate that city. So, yeah, man, again, Cubs, it's just kind of nice to not have to sit here and talk about the deadline and talk about how we feel. Like, are we cheering for wins? Are we cheering for losses? Like, it's just nice that we can feel good about something tonight.
Yeah, we can, like you said, we can always root for 18 wins a year against the St. Louis Cardinals. And anytime I get to put this little fucking thing on my hat, it makes me happy too, because we don't get to talk about a lot of wins lately, obviously, with that terrible win streak and everything. But yeah, man, it was just it really was a crazy turn of events. It got to the point where, like, I was away watching the game with some friends, following along the way I could, watching just the Cardinals pile it up. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like, here we go again. Like, I was already ready. I'm like, oh, Cody and I are just going to be screaming into a microphone.
Dude, I was going to bitch about fucking Trevor Williams some more.
Yeah.
I was
ready to do that too.
I was going to bitch about Rex Brothers. Like, Rex Brothers looks like the Rex Brothers that I've known outside of this season or the first 2 months of this season. Like, he sucks now. Like, there's just so many things that went wrong the first 8 innings of this game. Like,
know.
there was one inning they had 2 guys on with no outs, and I think the next 2 guys struck out, and the next guy hit a pop up or something like that, and it was just like you're not doing yourselves any favors. I mean, again, the Cubs' problems aren't fixed, and they're still going to sell Kimbrel or Bryant or both or whatever. But like I said, it's nice to get a win. It's nice to just remember what it's like to win a game. And who knows? I still stand pat with this, that this team can be like the 2016 Yankees. It will be very hard to make the postseason because of the NL West. But if you can end the season well and take some momentum into the offseason, we've seen it before, man, and it's been a really long time since we've seen it. But 2014, they played very well at the end of that year and took momentum into 2015, and we know what happened after that. Obviously, a lot of things will have to happen in the offseason for that to happen. But what I'm saying is that winning games still matters. When the Cubs started tanking like 2011, they had no culture. They had no sustainability. They had no structure of how to run an organization. I mean, we've heard the stories about how Theo and Jed had to they were working out of a trailer or some shit like that. You know what I mean? When they first started, they have built a structure. So it kind of just goes back to just, we hope that this rebuild is more of a retool and it's, we're things are different next year. But I genuinely think, whatever happens in the second half, winning ball games still matters, man. And if you win ball games with a bunch of young guys, there's just added on experience for them. And then a little bit more how they're going to be in those roles. So if you're rooting for losses because of a draft pick or whatever, I just think that's the wrong mentality with the state of the Cubs right now. If the organization was in shambles and you needed a new front office and you needed a new manager and you didn't have any talent like the Cubs did in 2011, then I'd understand it. But they are definitely not in that range. They are definitely right there still with, they just need a few more pieces to get back on track and figure out who are going to be the pillars of their organization in the next 5 to 6 years. That's the big thing. That's why people keep talking about Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, whoever it is. They lose those 3, then who are your pillars?
Yeah.
There are none. There just aren't. So that it's hard to find those guys. You know what I mean? So again, I think if you're kind of still whatever about this game tonight, is no matter how exciting it was, please take what I just said into account and maybe use that as a reason to, I guess, cheer for wins. Other than that, I mean, again, it's just nice to not be pissed off, man.
Yeah. Well, it's nice because, again, it's against the Cardinals. It's in crazy comeback fashion. Ironically, the inning starts and ends with a Patrick Wisdom strikeout, even though the first one he still got on base. But, just so many things going right. It's just nice when it's against the Cardinals. And like you said,
hell yeah, man.
So many good points that you just said there, too, because, again, this team is in a very different position than where it was in 2011. Brian LaHara is not our only all-star right now.
Right.
This isn't that team. But like you said, it's just identifying it's the next phase. And this was something I talked about a couple weeks ago about the Boston Red Sox. Look at their success that they've had over the last 15 seasons. They've done 4 championships with essentially 4 very different teams. But it's just because they were able to continually phase in talent in and out. And they had down years. It happened. They had transition years like what the Cubs are transitioning into right now in 2021. It happened. But they showed that you can still be successful just phasing talent in and out. You just like you said, you have to identify who those pillars are for each window. 5-6 year span. Who's those guys? Who's going to come in and really be that, like you said, that pillar for our organization for this next era? And there's a very good chance that it is Anthony Rizzo, and maybe Javier Baez is a part of that. And maybe not all 5 of those years he's a shortstop. Maybe he eventually moves to third base when Ed Howard or Christian Hernandez or one of these kids is potentially ready. And there's no guarantee that even they become ready. Again, let's be honest, the prospect game is a crapshoot in itself. It's a lot of luck. Guys need to, progress accordingly and whatever. But who's to say that Brennan Davis can't be the next one of those pillars, right? I mean, there is so much. This is such a different like you said, just time than it was 10 years ago with this team. It's not a we have to build a culture and an identity here. It's a we have a culture and an identity. We just need to do a little bit of a talent phase to get ready for this next run. And I think, like you said, a win like tonight, wins in general in the second half of the season, even if they do sell off pieces and whatever, even if they at least stay competitive, it shows that there is that talent still here, that they can take that next step forward now in 2022 when there is money to be spent, when there is talent that's going to be available on the market. And who's to say that they don't trade some of their prospect pieces for talent? I mean, there's no guarantee that, of these top 10 prospects that the Cubs have right now, that all 10 of them are going to be with the Cubs. They might trade 2 of them to go get a legitimate starter that's, cost effective and younger than what Yu Darvish was. You know what I mean? Because again, Yu Darvish, very good pitcher, but if you're looking at the longevity of it, who's to say that he doesn't have a John Lester or Cole Hamels type fall off circa 2019? And I agree with you, man. Like, it's so nice to not sit here and bitch. It's so nice to not sit here and have to just like mope about the trade deadline. And like, it's all in the back of our heads still, but this is just, it's like when you had a really bad day at work and you might hate your job, and just you're in or it's a shitty time at work or something's not going right. But you get that little moment of bliss, like when you go to the bar and rip a couple shots with your friends. That's this good. Like, it's just, it's a well-needed spirit lifter for Cubs fans because, again, it's against the St. Louis Cardinals, who everybody just despises. It's in such an epic comeback fashion that, like, it's going to stick out for a couple weeks of, like, remember that crazy comeback win? Like, how cool was that? And then I always love when Patrick Wisdom can just inflict more pain on the Cardinals because they gave up on him, just like they gave up again on All-Star Adolis Garcia or last year's ALCS MVP Randy Arozarena. Like, the more that they just do that dumb shit, the happier and happier it makes my soul. And so this was just, it was so fun to ride the roller coaster tonight of going from like, fuck, tonight's Cubs on Tap is going to be so miserable to, oh, wow, it's actually going to be a lot of fun. This is great. We get to talk about a winner. And it's just such a relief. I mean, it just is, like you said, like, this is just one of those wins. Because again, even if they do sell off pieces and it's a transition year, like if they're still winning ball games in the second half, it makes us happy. Because at least, like, you still get to enjoy Cubs baseball. Like, this isn't the 100-loss season that they had a handful of years ago where you were just like, every game you went in like, it'd be really cool to see a win tonight. But like, there's no guarantee of that. So, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. It's nice. And it's nice, there's certainly things we can critique about tonight, right? I know Trevor Williams is a hot topic. I agree with you about Rex Brothers. Like, maybe it's just a overuse thing at this point. Who knows? But like, it's just so nice. And like, I would love, like, and even then, like we said, right? Like, if they sell off pieces at the deadline, like, I'd still love to see them win the next 2 against the Cardinals and take 3 out of 4. Because that makes me smile. Because it just pisses off all the fans that are down in St. Louis.
For sure. And like I said, like, the Cardinals had real expectations, and their organization is not in a good spot in terms of what they have on the field right now. I mean, Tommy Edman hit a home run tonight to snap like a 2 for 29. I know Nolan Arenado was in a similar slump and he hit a home run. I actually bet him to hit a home run. So I also bet the Cubs to win the game. It was a wild money line win there for me. But like, those 2 guys, they were struggling. Paul Goldschmidt and Paul DeJong have been like the hot hitters for them of late, I guess. I know Goldschmidt had like has a 15-game hitting streak after tonight. But they've had, like, their offense has been abysmal all season. Honestly, they are towards the bottom of the league in certain offensive categories. And again, I say that their organization right now is in a worse spot because they have these big contracts for Arenado and Goldschmidt, and not saying that it's not necessarily all of that is the reason, but they got those guys because they want to win, and they're not winning. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of similar with the Cubs, but at least the Cubs aren't like handcuffed with these guys for 7 years or whatever, paying them so much money, and they're losing. Like, it's kind of one of the silver linings to the situation the Cubs are in right now is like, at least they're not handcuffed and with, outside of Jason Hayward. Like,
right.
Again, they're Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt aren't playing like Jason Hayward, but I will say that Nolan Arenado isn't exactly playing up to his contract. And I know Paul Goldschmidt is always a slow starter. I know he's been hot right now, but if he isn't a slow starter, who knows where their team is? They rely on those two guys to win games, and they just haven't this year. Yeah. But the thing that always has gotten the Cardinals through with their shitty offense and random guys that always come up and just decide to be hot for a couple weeks or whatever is that they've always had the pitching. And I guess the Cardinals actually have had the starting pitching at least the first 2 games of the season or of the series, but for the season they really haven't. And like I said, their bullpen leads the National League in walk rate. Like, it's very uncharacteristic for the Cardinals to be like in this realm with their pitching, because they always have the pitching, literally always have the pitching. And I know this because they, like, the national media and all of the St. Louis media will give Yadier Molina like 25% of the credit for why that their pitching is so good. It just makes me fucking sick to my stomach. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, they just don't really have it this year. And again, I find it absolutely hilarious. I know that I have been like, you can go back and find tweets of me and cold take me all you want, because in May I was like, this team fucks. At the beginning of June I was like, this team fucks, especially after I went to that 100% capacity game. You know what? All of it was just because the Cubs were blowing my mind with how well they're playing, because I didn't expect it. No one expected it. So if you want to call that a cold take, fine. I don't give a flying fuck. I'm getting ratioed by people because I support Chris Bryant on fucking Twitter. The goddamn app is free, folks. I swear to God, you can log on and say whatever you want, or not everything that you want, but you can say a lot of shit and you will get some of the most crazy comments, replies, whatever, and it's all free. It's free. It's insane. It makes you really it blows your mind a little bit. And but like I said, man, it's the Cardinals. They are just not a good baseball team. So, and I will stand by that if they go on to win the next 2 games of the series, because I know the Cubs aren't a good baseball team. You know what I mean? So it's I think you just take it with a grain of salt, just knowing that, like, despite the situation the Cubs are in, there are teams that are in a much worse situation organizationally than the Cubs. I don't really know where the Cardinals are in their minor league system, but I do know that the Cubs have their former scout or director of scouting and Dan Kantrovich, which is probably something the Cardinals wish they still had. So he was the director of scouting for St. Louis, correct, Ron?
Mm-hmm. Right. He was at least pretty up there.
Right. So, I add that to the list with Patrick Wisdom when it just I fucking hate that city, man. Anything that just makes them suck is awesome. And seeing them just really just not live up to expectations this year. They lived up to expectations for about a month. Their April was pretty good, but since May 1st, they've been absolute trash. A lot of it has to do with Jack Flaherty being out, but also, like I said, their offense just really hasn't been there. I remember when people used to tell me in 2018 that Matt Carpenter was better than Chris Bryant. That guy's fucking trash. Has an OPS below 700 the last time I checked. And, like I said, like, they have – you mentioned those other guys, those outfielders that are on different teams, and including Patrick Wisdom, all playing really well. Tyler O'Neill's a nice player, but fuck, Harrison Bader is, Bader?
Do you mean the second coming of Mike Trout?
The second coming of Mike Trout, man. Like, Sporting News, sucks to suck. You got that one wrong. That was a big yikes, guys. And then,
big old yikes.
I don't even know who else they have in the outfield. I mean, it's probably good they didn't keep Marcell Ozuna now because of that shit that's going on with them in the law. But it's just one of those things where when front office makes decisions like that, it comes back to haunt you. And hey, the Cubs have a handful of those too. It just comes down to just limiting them, you know what I mean? Yeah. And right now, the only one that really continues to stick out is is the Quintana trade, because Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease are on the south side playing. Well, Dylan Cease is on the south side pitching really well, and Eloy has shown that he's a pillar in an organization.
Yeah.
So that sucks. And yeah, I mean, I guess with his inability to play a good left field, it kind of makes me feel a little bit better, because the Cubs are in the National League, so where are you going to play him?
Right.
But then also you hear Sox fans always talking about how Eloy, like he just doesn't want to be a DH. Like he wants to play the outfield, and like he doesn't hit well as a DH, I guess. I don't know the numbers that exactly, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much I would pay into that. You know what I mean?
Right.
If the Cubs had Eloy, I would be, maybe outfield a couple days a week. But if there was a DH in the NL, that guy would be a DH every fucking day, man. I don't care what anyone says. But that's the only one that you can really look back in hindsight that just really kind of stings still. And but the Cardinals have a ton of these in recent years where not even just trades, but just like letting guys go. It's coming back to haunt them, man. You hate to see it. You hate to see it.
Yeah, well, and just to further enhance your point, so as a farm system coming into the season, they were ranked 17th in baseball, so not atrocious, but really not much better than the Cubs. Cubs were 22 coming into the season, and I'm willing to bet money that when the new prospect rankings come out in August, once all the draft picks are signed and everything, the Cubs probably will move up. Maybe not leapfrogging the Cardinals, but they'll probably move up into the 19 range. I think is very realistic. So pretty on par in terms of farm system with what the Cubs have. But you mentioned their two big contracts, right? Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado. Paul Goldschmidt's contract. Paul Goldschmidt's also 33, mind you that. Mm-hmm. So he's getting up there in age, and he's not a free agent again until 2025. That's a long time. Like he's locked into this big deal for quite a few years. Yeah. And then
first basemen age well. Like, especially if they hit. True. So I don't think that's something to be completely worried about. No. But he's turned into a guy where he starts the season off very slow these last couple years. Even when is like last season with the Diamondbacks, he started slow. JD and Boog talked about it a little bit on the broadcast tonight.
Yeah.
I guess it is all about how you finish. We talk about that with Rizzo all the time, but I just think it comes back to just, with their pitching not being as good as it has in recent years,
right?
They needed that production all the way through the season. It's tough to ask that of guys, but these are your star players. And if you just look at the numbers, in my personal opinion, they just haven't been on par with what they're being paid. That's just what it is.
Well, and let's talk about that other contract that you noted earlier, Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado, assuming he plays the length of his contract, and I'll get to that in a second. 2028 is when he would be a free agent. So he'd be 38 years old, right?
Yeah.
Now, a little younger than that, 37, 36-ish, somewhere in that range. But the thing that a lot of people forget about Nolan Arenado, he is an opt-out after this season and next season.
Yep.
So if the Cardinals don't go anywhere, he could tell them to go kick rocks, opt out of his contract, and everything that they didn't trade that much away from him in hindsight, granted, but you could really only get him for 2 years, and not even a competitive 2 years, because they won't win the division either year unless they go on some crazy hot streak now here in the second half of the year. And sure, it's great that they have Matthew Liberatore, who's going to come up and probably be a very good pitcher. But you know how good Randy Arozarena would look out in the outfield right now with a guy like O'Neill and Carlson, who is admittedly been very good. And
Carlson's really the guy that I couldn't remember. He's actually really good. I will give him credit. He's very good.
And he's young. So they still hit on some guys. But again, just imagine the amount of depth that they would have if your four outfielders were O'Neill, Garcia, who just made the All-Star game, Carlson, and Arozarena, with Wisdom playing third base over, granted, it wouldn't be over Arenado, but let's assume it was still Matt Carpenter. He's certainly an upgrade over Matt Carpenter at this point. So it's like,
I think them letting Wisdom go, or like literally they traded him for Drew Robinson, who I think literally over the weekend retired, if it's the same Drew Robinson. But like They chose Matt Carpenter over Patrick Wisdom, man.
Yikes.
And Patrick Wisdom hasn't had a full chance. I know tonight he was not good, but last night he was very good. And I know there's still a lot of flaws in his game because right now he seems like I don't want to say homer, like home run or bust, but his slugging is really high, but his strikeout rate is pretty high. So for a guy in the role that he's in, I can be okay with that. For how much money he's making, I can be okay with that. Anything the Cubs get out of Patrick Wisdom is a bonus. It's an added bonus. He's honestly kind of been carrying the team since June. You know what I mean? Like silently. You know what I mean?
He really has.
So, like, I got no complaints.
277 or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, still
has an OPS over 900, man. Like if you have an OPS over 900 in like 150 plate appearances or whatever it is that he has, like that's pretty solid, man. You can't complain about that. Now, like he started off real hot and then he went through a cold streak for like 40 play appearances, and then I guess over like the last 30 play appearances has been really good. So you can see that he is adjusting with the league a little bit. Yeah. So I think that's very key, and that's something that we haven't seen a lot out of other guys on the Cubs over the years. And to me, is giving me a reason being to I kind of want to keep him around, man. Like even beyond this year, like give him the David Bodie contract or something similar to it. You know what I mean? Like he has played so well that he deserves like an actual major league contract and not go back to the minors unless he really shits the bed. But I think that he is earning a spot for the future on the Cubs. And I mean, he did have a hit tonight. I know I did say he didn't do anything, but he did strike out 3 times as well. So, but I think that, those types of things when it comes to his game is a lot of what the Cubs kind of don't have, in my opinion. Just like, just on base, like OPS is on base plus slugging. And they just don't have a lot of that, a lot of high ones, except for Chris Bryant. You know what I mean? You look at the OPS on this Cubs team, and a lot of them are in the, high 700s. Occasionally if a guy gets hot, they'll be in the low 800s. Like Chris Bryant is the one guy who has, I don't know what it is right now, but like he's at least been an 800 OPS guy. And that's a guy that, again, I mentioned earlier, I've been fighting with people on Twitter because these motherfuckers just don't understand just how valuable this guy is. And again, with Patrick Wisdom, if he's doing that and if he does that the rest of the season, that's a guy I feel like the Cubs should keep around. Ian Happ with the big hit tonight. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come, because I am sticking with it that if he sucks the entire second half, then we just need to cut ties, non-tender his ass, and thank him for the good times. We had some good times, but on to the next one, because if we just can't find a center fielder, man, we just like that. That's been one of the biggest problems since Dexter Fowler left, man. It's so frustrating. You thought Albert Almora was going to be that guy. Then you thought Ian Happ was going to be that guy. In the middle, John Jay was in there for like a year. Jake Marisnik this year. Like there's been some other random guys like Rafael Ortega this year as well. Like it's just been a list of just frustration. Like the Cubs, like if there's anything the Cubs need to do in the offseason, or extend Chris Bryant, like he said, he wants to play. He loves playing center field. Just put him in center field. I don't care. But if that's one thing that I'm asking for the Cubs to do in the offseason, is to go get themselves a center fielder that is proven to be very good at baseball for a long time. Because I'm so tired of the Cubs failing to develop a center fielder. They literally have tried with a handful of guys within their farm system, and the Cubs are good at developing position players. But they haven't been able to do that. So circling it back, Ian Happ, build off what he did tonight, getting that big hit, driving those 2 runs, build some confidence, and let's, like we're at a point where, okay, like we want to see wins still, but we're just not going to expect a lot of them. So we have to see production from certain guys, and he is definitely one in the second half. Like he was clearly bad in the first half. We need really good production out of him to at least find a reason to justify bringing him back next year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And just I'm going to pull up this comment on the screen here. Cubs prospects so underrated from our boy Joey.
I agree.
The reason I say that is because you mentioned center field. A guy right now that if Ian Happ doesn't step it up, to me, has a very good chance of being the 2022 center fielder on opening day is Brendan Davis. He's been playing center field in the minors, and he looks
Yeah.
very good in center. And maybe that's finally the guy, but it would still be nice, even if Ian Happ moves over to left field. It'd still be
Yeah.
nice to see a guy like Ian Happ stick around and be a productive player because he was a first-round draft pick for this organization.
The thing about Brendan Davis, though, is like I don't want the Cubs to rush him because they're
1000% agree.
even next year. I don't think they're going to be in position to win the World Series unless a lot of guys just break out, and they get some guys in free agency and just completely blow our minds.
Sure.
We still got a long way to go to even get to that point, but like you need to get a guy that you can platoon with Brendan Davis, a guy that because Brendan Davis will go through the ups and downs of being a rookie. Teams will figure out who he is, and also he hasn't played in AAA yet. I would be okay, or at least understand giving him an opening day, putting him on the opening day roster next year if he gets some AAA at bats, and then if he plays really well in spring training, that would be a key thing as well. So all of that said, it still comes back to the Cubs need to go out and get someone. And if they're not going to extend Chris Bryant and let him play that position, then fuck it, go get someone else. I don't know the free agent list of center fielders or just outfielders that always play center field, but like that to me, that is like the number one thing on like the Cubs list, that and starting pitching. But as far as position players, I would say second base and center field are like their two biggest needs. And all of that, like those things, and then trying to figure out who the hell are going to be the pillars of your organization. So I'm looking forward to it, but I know we still have a couple months left of games, and just going to try and enjoy it the best I can. We're down to like 10 days before the deadline, something like that, less than 10 days. So
it's about it's about that. We're getting close.
Yeah. So like it's. I'm not trying to get negative now, but it's still just like, they appreciate what we got here or what we've had over the last 6 years. And, whatever happens, man. Like I'm not going to lie, man. I get so fucking pissed off when Chris Bryant's taken out of the game. And then people start fucking speculating. Oh, is he being traded now? And it's like, dude, they were just talking on the broadcast about, him getting up weird or whatever. And they clearly took him out mainly for precautionary reasons, because if he gets hurt, then his trade value would just go straight down the drain. And then the Cubs are they fucked themselves. Like, as dumb as it is, as much as it makes me mad because of what that is, at the end of the day, the MLB is still a business, and you still have a front office, and they still have to make the decisions that are best for the organization. So I get it. Yep. So, like that kind of shit just really just annoys me. Just like sit back, take a chill pill, and like just wait for things to play out.
Yeah.
Like it makes me, it genuinely boils my fucking bloodstream, man.
No, I feel you there. And I mean, going back to Chris Bryant really quick and your what you mentioned earlier about Patrick Wisdom, I looked up the numbers when you were talking about it. And yeah, a lot of 700 on base guys, or excuse me, OPS guys that exist in this Cubs lineup. 771 for Wilson Contreras, 778 for Rizzo, 773 for Baez, 780 for Horner, and that's with a 321 average. 713 for Ortega, 728 for Marisnik, and a lot of guys below that too. Hayward's a 619, Happ's a 624 right now. But like you mentioned, Chris Bryant, 834, and then Patrick Wisdom's a 941 right now. So sure, less at bats, whatever, but he's still being a very productive player, in the at bats that he is getting. And completely in agreement with you too on everything else you had to say there, because I don't know about you, I really don't have much else to say besides I love watching the Cubs beat the fucking shit out of the Cardinals, and especially when it's in a heartbreaking comeback fashion like this. But like, it's just, enjoy it. Enjoy Cubs baseball. Enjoy these type of wins. And there's going to be wins in the second half. Even with this team potentially selling off assets, like you can still enjoy a Cubs win. It's the beauty of baseball. But
I go back, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, Cubs in 2014. Like people still talk about the John Baker game, which is coming up at the end of July. Yes. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was wins like that, and then you you get prospects that come up in August and September, and especially after the deadline passes. I honestly have this low key take that like, or thought process that like as soon as the deadline passes, and if the Cubs still have, you know, 2 of the 3 core guys, or hell, if they somehow for some fucking reason still have all 3, then that's just gonna like kind of take some weight off those guys. And who knows, maybe they'll all just get real hot. And we might fuck around and end up in the playoff chase somehow, some way. It's wild to think about. It's very unrealistic, and it's all about me just being just a stupid fucking idiot and believing in my team. That's literally all it is. But I feel like that is a thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Now, if they trade Kimbrel, I don't see us doing a lot because I feel like we're going to start blowing games again. But you know that's a whole nother story. But
sure.
Again, in 2014, that team ended the season very well. They were building momentum for the next year. They were starting to figure out some pieces. They were starting to figure out who they wanted on their team in the future. So it's just like, I know this is still different because the core players are on the team, and now you have to figure out who you want to extend, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot different. And you didn't have players that were under control for the next 5-6 years. I understand it's a lot different, but it is still kind of similar in a sense, because you just, you know, if you didn't have 2014, you don't really know what Jake Arrieta was going to be. Same thing with Kyle Hendricks. Like we're going to see Justin Steele in the second half and starting in August, I assume. You know, I know Keegan Thompson's kind of struggled to start the second half, but like perhaps maybe they eventually stretch him out. I don't know. And then like I said, they will call people up, and we're going to get a look at some guys. So there's things to look forward to. It's just, you know, kind of like we've kind of said on this show, from ones that I've listened to other guys on the podcast saying, is like, we just got to get past the deadline, and then we'll kind of be able to like just breathe the rest of the year and at least have an outlook on how the rest of the season is going to go, and how you know, perhaps how the off season goes. Like I think that the end of the year could be a lot more fun than what a lot of people think. So
yeah. I absolutely agree 100%. And I'll tell you what, man, if you're ready to look ahead to tomorrow, I think that's a perfect way to close out on just how tonight's game went. And like Joe said earlier Cubs just continue to win against the Cards, and at least we'll have that. And it's absolutely something that we can enjoy and appreciate. So, sir, you ready to go ahead and look forward to this game tomorrow?
Yeah, let's talk about this pitching matchup tomorrow.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good one. Obviously, Cubs win 7-6 in this one in epic comeback fashion. But we are looking ahead now to Wednesday, July 21st. It's a 7:15 start once again, local time at Busch Stadium in boring St. Louis, Missouri. The usual suspects, 670 The Score, Marquee Sports Network in the Chicagoland market. In the Cardinals market, KMOX 1120, 98.7 FM, WIJR AM 880, Bally Sports Midwest, and then it is ESPN 4 out of market. So this will be a nationally televised game. As you mentioned, hell of a pitching matchup because the Cubs trot out, might I add, I think he's still tied for the league lead in wins. Kyle Hendricks, 12-4 on the season, 3.65 ERA, 84 Ks, takes the bump for the Cubbies. And for the Cardinals, it is the dreaded Adam Wainwright, who is 7-6 on the year with a 3.71 ERA and 106 Ks. So, Cody, predictions, thoughts on this, the pitching matchup, the whole nine, other than chafing a fly the W pick. We'll get to that. But what are your thoughts?
Who's pitching for the Cubs again? I'm sorry, I kind of zoned out while you were saying all that.
You mean league win leader Kyle Hendricks?
Kyle Hendricks. That's who I thought you said, but I just didn't want to sound like a dumbass. No, all right. So obviously Adam Wainwright has like dominated the Cubs throughout his entire career. I don't understand it, especially at this point, because he's just not that good anymore. But he just does it. But on the flip side, Kyle Hendricks dominates the Cardinals. He has his entire career. I think the last time I said something like this, the over hit like very quickly in the game, but like tomorrow sounds like a really good undertake for me. If you're asking me personally, like I assume the under will be like 6 or 7 runs, just because they might go by history, like Vegas might or something. I don't know. If it's around 8 or 9 runs, though, I'm taking the under if that's where the line is, because I think Kyle Hendricks is just going to go out there and shove against this Cardinals lineup that, like I said, has not been very good. It hit tonight because Trevor Williams fucking sucks. We didn't really talk about Trevor Williams enough, but Trevor Williams, he's good for the first time through the lineup, and then that's really about it. He's been basically like that all season. He's had a few starts where he's gotten you to the 5th inning or allowed 3 runs or less, and you just kind of like, God damn, we got him out at the perfect time. But Kyle Hendricks is a guy that you feel like he can give up 1 or 2, maybe 3 runs, and you still feel good with him riding you into the 6th, perhaps the 7th inning.
Yep.
So it would really suck after a night like this that the Cubs would come out and shit the bed and just like lay an egg against the Cardinals. But you got your ace going tomorrow, the one guy that you can always rely on outside of Abreu Alzolay, I would say would be next. But let's try. Like I said, man, I'm a dumb baseball fan who believes in these wild ass endings to the season. Like, who knows? Maybe that win is, the Cubs version of the Chris Bryant 2015 walk-off. Like, I don't know. It's so stupid to think about. It's so stupid. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. But like, I want to believe that this win is kind of like a building point for like the next couple weeks,
Yeah.
Like, let's fuck around and just like get back in the race. Like, why not? Why not? Like, we're going to sell anyway, but like, fuck it. Let's find a way to still just be in there. I mean, Matt Duffy's supposed to be back on like Thursday, I think is what they said on Marquee tonight. You add him back to that lineup. Like they showed a graphic. The Cubs average like 5 runs a game when he's in the lineup and like 3 runs a game when he's not in the lineup. He's clearly been missed. When I was bitching in June about him not being in the lineup because he was hurt, like, and not affecting the Cubs offense, I wasn't just saying shit to say shit. It was true. Right. Like, he was a big part because he diversified the lineup. So hopefully when they get him back, you can just, find a way to just kind of hang around. I don't know. Like, again, I only really say this because I think Milwaukee's really good. Like, they're obviously very good, but I want to see them play well against good teams. And, in June, they obviously had that easy schedule. So all it takes is like one random ass fucking week where the Cubs go like, I don't know, like, 5-2 or something. And they could find themselves 3 or 4 games back. And then right there, like, again, it's very unrealistic. It's very stupid, but you just never know. You never know. This isn't me saying that we should be buyers now. This is just me just saying, let's just fuck around and find a way to be in the race. Because again, like I said, they're going to call up random guys from the minors who no one's going to know about. They're going to come up and they're going to have their highs and their lows. And hopefully all the highs come before the lows. And who knows, like we just might end up in the race. And that's all I'm asking is like to just tickle my balls a little bit.
Yeah. No, so, I'm right there with you.
I'll take Hendricks as my flat W player outside of Chafin.
I like that. Quickly, because we have seen this been announced twice or asked twice now. Why are the announcers from Marquee not in St. Louis? They were on Monday.
I thought they were there tonight too.
I thought they were too. The
way that they sounded
started traveling.
Did they?
But it was because of COVID-19. I know that was the ask
originally.
It had to do. And then there was a lot of speculation on tabsportsnet.com. You can read about Jason Benetti, other side of town, but he had a lot to say about it and was just like, why the hell aren't we traveling? He's like, we need to travel to do our jobs. Like, let's get on this shit. So a lot of teams are starting to get their broadcasters back on the road with team, but I'm 90% sure they said they were, at least I remember at the start of Monday's game, Boog was like, we're in St. Louis. Like, he was all excited about it. So to me, that means that they're there. But yeah, man, I mean, tomorrow's game sets up for a good one because, like you said, Wainwright just always shoves against the Cubs and Hendricks always shoves against the Cardinals. And either it's going to be a crazy 9-8 type game or it's going to be a freaking 2-1 pitcher's duel,
Right.
And it's just, it always.
No in between.
No, it always just works out that way. But I mean, it would be super nice to see them, go in and, like you said, not shit the bed, just take care of business, get another win. Because again, winning against the Cardinals is just so damn fun. And like I am fully ready for that, and I love your pick with Hendricks. I'm actually going to roll with a guy who is inexplicably insanely good against Wainwright. I'm going to go with Ian Happ tomorrow. I think he's a perfect pick as my fly the W because
I like it.
in 17 at bats against Wainwright, he has a 471 average with 4 homers and 6 ribbies. Best on the team by far. So, again, would love to see it. Like you said, I mean, he had the game-winning hit tonight with that double to score 2, ultimately to take home the victory. So, if that's a sign of things to come, it would be nice to see him, get hot because, like you said, I'm right there with you. If he doesn't produce, it's really hard for the Cubs to justify keeping him around after 2021.
Right, and if he produces at a clip that we are accustomed to. I'm not even asking for him to just turn into a 280 hitter with an on base of 400 and slugging 600 or something like that. I'm asking for just what we saw when he's good, which is around a 250,
Maybe
3. Yeah, and like a 350 to 370 on base and, slugging near 500. That's all I'm asking in the second half. And, we talk about selling guys. If they do end up selling Chris Bryant, but you get really good production out of Ian Happ, I'm not going to say it's going to take over for Chris Bryant, but it will kind of help in the missing of him. You know what I mean?
Right.
So as much as I am against trading Chris Bryant, that's just another reason for the Cubs or for Ian Happ to get it together and get it going. So I'm hoping, man, I genuinely want him to be good. I like him.
Yeah.
It just comes down to producing. This is Major League Baseball, man. This ain't fucking little league college baseball, where you get all these chances. This is, you have to produce at this level. So
100%.
Yeah, man, you just gotta hopefully gets it going tomorrow. Like you said, he's got good numbers against Wainwright. Hopefully, I'm not even asking for homers tomorrow. I'm asking for just good at bats. Put the bat on the ball. And I mean, the fact that he got that hit tonight against Alex Reyes, who's far and away the Cardinals' best bullpen arm, impressive. It was impressive. So just hope they build on it tomorrow, and we'll see what happens, man.
Absolutely, we will. Sir, you got any quick final thoughts before I go ahead and close this thing down the good old Pat Sajak way?
I feel like I've been talking so much on this podcast. That's why it's gone almost 50 minutes. But, I think I'm going to say this on every podcast the rest of July, man. It's just continue to just, find a way to enjoy the core players, man. It's just, I can't stress it enough. They always say it, you never realize you missed them or you're going to miss them until they're gone, man. And they use that in The Office, and they've used that in different types of other, shows and stuff like that. And, the people who think Chris Bryant isn't worth keeping around, they're going to get a nice reckoning. They're going to realize just how good he is when he's not on the team anymore. And those people, I ain't going to apologize to him. I'm going to literally call them a bunch of dumbasses. So
I respect that. I respect that wholeheartedly, and I'm right there with you, man. I mean, looking back on it, I mean, it's just it feels like there's some selection of the Cubs fan base that just doesn't deserve Chris Bryant because
they don't, man.
He's always been very underappreciated, and I don't know if it's because of the whole the service time thing or just because Boris is his agent or whatever it's been. But
I think a large majority of it has always been Scott Boris, in my opinion, because I tweeted this video out earlier, didn't even have a caption. It was just an old interview from him at the beginning of last year, before the pandemic at spring training, where he literally said in an interview that he's never said that he didn't want to be with the Cubs long-term. He's never said that he was only going to accept this certain amount of money. He's never said that he doesn't want to be a Chicago Cub. He's always said the right things. Everyone who keeps sliding over my mentions and saying that he doesn't want to be here, those people read ESPN. That's their problem, is they're reading ESPN or just any other clickbait fucking website that doesn't have the facts. They're just finding reasons to get people to click their fucking articles or whatever their content is. I mean, that's just the sad state of affairs of sports media these days, man. And I can go on a whole tangent about that, but I ain't gonna do that. But it's just a little bit of like that's just a little bit of what pisses me off about that entire situation, because Chris Bryant has never said that he didn't want to be with the Cubs, and he's never said that he wanted a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm right there with you, man. And just enjoy it. I mean, I'm going to enjoy tomorrow's game, especially coming off of a win like this. It makes it a little sweeter to get up for it. When the time comes tomorrow. But Cody, before we get out of here, do want to remind everybody, Cubs on Tap, the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check us out, www.ontapsportsnet.com and at OnTapSportsNet on social media. You can follow the pod specific accounts, Twitter and Instagram at Cubbies, Cubbies on Tap. You can follow me at Loose on Tap on Twitter, Cody at Cody on Tap on Twitter, and all of our other great panelists and contributors at Juice on Tap, at Joe Maris, at The Riot 326, at Marty Laval, and so many more that contribute here at Cubs on Tap. Not only great Cubs coverage, Bulls, Blackhawks, Bears, and yes, Cubs fans. We all have a friend that likes the Southsiders. Our Sox on Tap guys do a great job. Go ahead and bring them over to us as well. Once again, www.ontapsportsnet.com, at OnTapSportsNet on social media, the OnTap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Cody, I'm so thankful we got to talk about a win, because for 8 innings, I thought we were going to talk about a loss, but the Cubs do win 7-6 in epic comeback fashion in St. Louis. Hopefully we get another win tomorrow, and our 2 panelists that'll be on tomorrow's show get to talk about another W. But until then, buddy, what do you say? We get out of here the only way we know how?
Let's go Cubs and fuck St. Louis.
Absolutely. Let's go Cubbies.